This is a video about how to use Blender. If you're very new to Blender, you might have the experience I had where you look on YouTube and there are so many good videos about how to make really cool things in Blender, but the experts go very fast and they have all the shortcuts memorized, and it's super intimidating if you're just getting started. So I thought I'd slow things down, start with the very basics. Starting out, just download Blender from blender.org. It's free, it's open source. It's super powerful for 3D creation of 3D objects and animation and even printing. So after you download it, and I'm on version 2.9 of Blender. It's changed a little bit over time. So that's another thing with the YouTube videos. They may be using a different version of Blender than you're using. I'm using 2.9. And when I start it, I get a screen like this where I can decide what type of Blender file I want to open. I'm just going to pick General. And it starts me out with a little 3D cube. In fact, even though it looks like there's only one object on the screen, if I look over on the right-hand side, there's actually three objects. There's the camera, which is this over here, it's highlighted in orange if I select camera, and then the cube. And if I select something, it's going to highlight it in orange. And there's also a light source, so we could create shadows. So let's work with just the cube. So I'm going to highlight the cube. It'll have this orange line around it. What can I do with this cube? Well, in the upper left corner, I'm going to double check that I'm in object mode. That's the default when we just create this new scene. And I'm going to do some transformations with the cube. I'm going to move it around using these move arrows. And if I hover over the arrows for up, down, left, right, I can see there's also a shortcut G for moving things. But I'm going to use the arrows. When I click on that, it allows me to drag this little blue arrow to bring my cube up in the Z direction, drag the green arrow to move my cube in the Y direction, and drag the red arrow to move my cube in the X direction. And if at any point in time I want to change my mind and undo something, I can do, there's an edit undo, which is Command Z to get out. That's another thing about the videos is I'm on a Mac, and a lot of the videos are on PCs, and they're talking about numpads and Alt and keys that don't even appear on my keyboard. So I'm going to try to stick to the pull down menus whenever possible. So I've got my cube, and what else could I do? Well, other than moving it around, I could scale it or change the size of it. So we will see right two buttons down from that moving is scaling, and I can scale and make this bigger in any of my 3 dimensions. Okay, one more thing I want to show you with this object, and then we'll add another object. Right above the scale, there's a rotate. And if I select rotate and my cube, I can see that there's 3 different directions I can rotate this cube in, and it's no longer much of a cube, it's more of a rectangle now. So we rotate this however we want. Now I'm going to just move it off to the side using those move tools and try to create something else. So all my objects will be spawned or created right in the area where you see this circle made out of red and white segments. So I'm going to add another object. I'll add a mesh object that is how about a sphere, UV sphere. And it looks like a little golf ball. I'll move that around. We could do the same thing, the same resizing and scaling with that. So I could resize that down. And let me add one more object, and that is going to be the monkey. So they have this it's awesome, probably the coolest looking little mesh object they have in there as a default, which is this monkey's head. And I'm going to rotate the monkey's head so we can see her face. They've nicknamed her Suzanne. I think she might have appeared in some animation. So we've got 3 objects. What else can we do in Blender if we're just getting started? Well, I'm going to move out of the object mode and into the edit mode and find a way to transform these objects even more. So in the edit mode, let's select the cube, or now it's more of a rectangle. It's not a sphere. So I went along the right hand side and I selected the cube. And what do I want to do with that in edit mode? Well, right next to the edit mode selection, there's 3 choices. There's the vertex selection, the edge selection, and the face selection. So we could pick one of these. I'm going to start with the vertex because I already have that selected, and find a vertex on this object. So that's a corner that I'm looking for. And for what I'm going to do in the edit mode, it's really important that you double check that you're not in that object mode anymore. From the object mode, you can pick any of the 3 objects. We're going to work with the cube, and then we want to be in edit mode. And now I see just the cube has these orange dots on every vertex and orange lines on every line. So we'll leave vertex selected, and then I'm going to pick just one of the vertices. And so now only one of them's highlighted. And from here, I can move that to a different spot so I can morph this into a different shape. And from the object mode, we remembered that there were these move handles and there's a shortcut G. I'm going to select that, and now I can move just this one vertex. So it's no longer going to be much of a rectangle as I move it around, and now this polygon looks a bit different. So that was moving just one vertex. What about an edge? So let's try the edge selection, and now I'll pick maybe this edge right here, and I'm still on the move tool. So I've selected the edge, and now I can make this smaller or bigger. I'm dragging that edge around. What about the last one, the face? So I'm going to select a face right here, and I can drag that whole entire face out and lengthen or shorten our object. So that's enough for day 1, but I will definitely be coming up with more Blender videos. Have a great day.